For the young one, back on the scene, it's me, masterful MC, and now you'll see. I'm in the rappers can't hang with me. Knowledge reigns supreme. If you don't know what that means, you must enter the temple. Open your mental, learn the essential. Don't be afraid to dream. Never ever doubt this. No, it's not about this. Learn more about this underground hip-hop scene. Check for the classical rap, masterful MC and blasting them back, unmasking them a faulty track. Check the mathematical rap, a highly tactical, dramatical rap. KRS-ONE, I'm a classical cat. But that fact you already know. Coming out, watch how I'm flipping this cup. Lyrical cup, live in the show. Oh man, they too slow. What is all of this, man, for sure? Rappers ain't microphone beats no more. They don't believe no more. We all been deceived for sure. Really, horse in the company, running for the money tree. Run, clumsy, KRS-ONE, the MC. Take this and keep this. Fear is a weakness. Never ever speak this. The truth will set you free. Make some Manchester! Manchester! Love and good night! Yes, indeed. Welcome to the Temple of Hip Hop. I am KRS-ONE, your teacher for this episode. Big up to GSIMONE. Shout out to Pascal, Minister Son 1, and everyone else that's here lifted. Joey True, King, Jay Best. Oh, I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. But I just got off the stage. Oh, how could I forget time? I just got off the stage and just ripped it. And I say that to say straight up. A lot of things were said tonight. You know, I was here with the BBC. I cursed them out. The crowds out there, they wanted raw hip hop. I gave it to them. Got a nice call today from Taraji. Shout out to you, Taraji, the actor from Cookie from Empire, the one who plays Cookie from Empire. Taraji had a nice call with her today. We're talking about putting the Stop the Violence movement together. And again, you guys know this as well. You know, you've been hearing me speak about this as well. You know what, let's try to lift this up a little bit. It's a little low. Yeah, Son 1, help me lift this up. The stick. Yeah, so just lift it up. Yeah, just that's as high as it goes?
Yeah, you gotta put something under them. Yeah.
All right, now y'all gonna have to deal with our technical difficulties because we're doing this right now. Hold up, yeah, put the box down. I don't know if it's gonna be stable though. No, I don't even like how that shit look. We have to turn it over. Yeah, wait a minute. Now y'all hold on, all right? Y'all hold on. Here we go. All right, hit that right there. Yeah, buddy. All right. I'm in some dirty ass dressing room somewhere. I'm rocking Manchester, or just rock Manchester actually. And what we're dealing with here is, what I was saying was that teaching in real time. Look at me, I'm all sweaty, just got off the stage. But this is the adventures of a hip hop teacher. This is what it's all about. This is what hip hop's teaching is all about. Like I said, welcome to the Temple of Hip Hop. I am KRS-ONE. We do this every Sunday at various times. I was talking about, 12 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Western. Right now it's nighttime here. I'm broadcasting from Manchester, England. Just ripped the show, it was great. I had a really good time out there with that. Excellent. Shout out like I said to everybody who's here, let's get into this lesson. I want to get out of this real quick. So one thing I want to stress to you is that, you know, when you're teaching hip hop, it is important that you're able to do that which you're teaching. And you know, we didn't set this lesson up for that, to say that. But since I'm here in this kind of vibe right now, I think I ought to say it. Because I see a lot of people say, you know, I'm a teacher of hip hop, I teach hip hop, this, that, and the other. But then you never see them rock a crowd. You never see them break. You never see they black book. You never see them produce something that actually is hip hop, whether it be from your body or whether it be from your mind or whatever it is. Now, shout out to everybody who writes books about hip hop. That's some dope shit because you're actually producing something. But even a book written about hip hop is in no way a comparison to getting on the stage and rocking the mic, or getting your b-boy move on, or getting your black book out, or your canvases, or whatever you actually draw with, you know, like that, or getting your DJing on. You're cutting, mixing, and scratching on that, okay? And I just stress that, or you're beatboxing, or street fashion, street language, street knowledge, street entrepreneurialism. How do you express hip hop? That's what we want to know. That's what the mastery of this is about. If you're a teacher of hip hop, I just gave a lecture at a place called BIM. Gave the BIM lecture. It's an acronym for something, but I gave the lecture there. That was a studious situation. You know, we sitting down, we in a classroom, or really an auditorium type setting. You give the lecture. Here, I had to give the lecture on the crowd. I talked about being a friend to your future self. Spit a little freestyle. We freestyled long tonight. Got that off. And so so I say that to say that in real time, if you're a teacher of hip hop, at some point you should look like this. At some point, you should be able to work your face and be like, yo, I did it. And this is what gives me my confidence. The fact that I've mastered my craft. And that's what gives you the confidence. Or at least part of it. It'll give you the confidence. I just rock my shit straight up. Can't nobody tell me nothing. I'm 57. 2, by the way. Okay, 2, by the way. Just ripped it down. So my confidence is up. My skills is up. This is what skill mastery gives you. Let's get into this read. Yeah, here it goes. It's the Carol Quigley. That's what we've been getting into. Right, hold up. Right, I'm gonna read that again. That's what I wanted to read again. Was the Carol Quigley Tragedy and Hope. I'm on page 688. And like I said, these are short reads, short lessons, because as you can see, we're on the go. I'm still soaking wet, but you're getting the full energy right now. This is how it is. I walk with my gospel, and at the end of the day, I can teach anywhere at any time. And like I was saying earlier on, this is what a teacher is. And I'm not just, you know, teaching out the gospel of hip hop. I'm hoping you're seeing what this is about. The action that keeps your soul grounded in hip hop so that you're accurate with your lessons. You know what you're talking about with these lessons. You're not groping and fishing in the dark. You are the hip hop that you're talking about. And like I said, it gives you a certain confidence. So here we are, y'all. I'm backstage in Manchester. Here I'm with GSIMONE, Son 1. The rest of the temple's out there doing their thing. And this is what it is. So now we're gonna read now. Take this real quick. Oh, I'm kicking this thing real quick. Hold up, hold on. Yeah, this is a little crooked. No, this needs to just a little bit. You see how you go? Yeah, like that, like that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Up more. Hold up. Let me get this, y'all. Oh, okay. Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll do that. I'm not advertising the BDP, but y'all saw it already. So that's it. Okay, so look. Here we are at page 688. And I got background music. We in a raw hip hop spot too. They doing their thing. Okay, so here it is. As Carol Quigley explains in his 1966 book, Tragedy and Hope, when white men first came to North America, material elements from Western civilization spread rapidly among the Indian tribes. The Plains Indians, for example, were weak and impoverished before 1543. But in that year, the horse began to diffuse northward from the Spaniards in Mexico. Within a century, the Plains Indians were raised to a much higher standard of living because of their ability to hunt buffalo from horseback and were immensely strengthened in their ability to resist Americans coming westward across the continent. Now keep this in mind too, you know, that when they was we talked about this last week, how colonialism and imperialism is not always bad, where we cited some examples of hip hop being colonial, and we cited examples of ancient civilizations like Egypt, even some of the South American civilizations that did go all over the world, did travel to other regions outside of their immediate environment and was welcomed. We talked about the Vikings, Norse people coming into the Americas and not robbing and stealing and shooting and killing, but instead really blending in with society, with the societies in which they met. And this is another untold story, unheard of history of white people or Europeans going into other indigenous communities, some others white, others darker skinned people, you know, so on. But they went in that and became the culture, We don't know anything about these people. So we're talking about how visitors from another place going into another place and colonizing the place is not always a bad thing. Only a certain character of person is the one who goes into another person's place, violates their laws, rapes their women, kills their young people, and take over the resources. That's a certain type of criminal. And this is the point too that we got to understand. This is the point too that we also have to understand. You know, oftentimes we hear when we get into this conversation about racism, or not even racism, when we get into this conversation about slavery, and you hear a lot of white folks say, you know, I ain't got nothing to do with that. Why are you blaming me for that? Why are you da-da-da-da-da? And then, you know, the black person on the other end of the stick, maybe, whoever, is saying, no, because you're benefiting from the plight of my ancestors. The reason why you're where you are is basically because of the way the society structured itself against my ancestors. And then, of course, the white person can respond and say, listen, I don't have nothing to do with that. I'm living my life. Okay, I'm not even a political person. I'm just here living my life. I got the same problems you got, really, on another level. So I don't know what that privilege, where it was. I mean, I'm just speaking for, you know, white people, forgive me, you know, if you're white. But I'm saying, I'm just, you know, giving you an argument on both sides. And here's why I'm giving it to you, because as scholars, regardless of race, as scholars, as hip hop scholars, we can't just be taking one side of a story and saying, oh, this is the story for everybody. Like right now, I'm in Manchester, England. I just came from Liverpool. Liverpool is the beginning of slavery as it pertains to Britain. Okay, Liverpool is the central hub, the place where the most enslaved Africans came into Britain. Okay, now you walk around Liverpool today, and you'll see white folk there going all around trying to live their life, okay? I was talking to a cab driver today with a heart-wrenching story. White man, heart-wrenching story about his family life. I don't want to give his business in this call, but it was a heart-wrenching story about how he grew up. And he was an Irishman, too, living in Britain. And, you know, he's driving cab and we're talking. And, you know, we talked all the way here to Manchester. It was about a 40-minute, 50-minute drive from Liverpool to Manchester. But I mention this to say that, so, you know, often as black scholars, we say, oh, white people, you know, lumping all white people in with the plight of black people, not realizing that white people got their own problems that ain't got nothing to do with your plight. And this is what I want to mention before we read further here. That this is what I want to mention. As scholars, you have to develop the ability to not dehumanize the other person, whether in argument or in inquiry. For instance, you hear me talk about this often. You hear me say that, like for instance, to constantly call African ancestors slaves. I don't like to use that word slave because first of all, Africans cannot be slaves. The word slave comes from the word Slav. Those are Eastern and Central Europeans, Russians, Bulgarians, Moravians, Polish, Armenians, okay, Bulgarians. Those are slaves, or Slavs. I should not slaves. Oh, shit. Those are Slavs, and from their Romans oppressed them, then the Turks oppressed them, and they became slaves from Slavs. Africans can never be that. So using that term for Africans, first of all, shows a person's limitedness in historical training, but it also shows that you're willing to dehumanize real human beings by calling them slaves. Like you say, Lincoln freed the slaves. No, Lincoln did not free, President Abraham Lincoln did not free slaves. President Abraham Lincoln freed black people. And we can even argue that, you know, I don't even agree with that. He didn't free nobody. Black folk fought and died in the Civil War to be free. Black people won their freedom. I went through this already a couple of lessons back. My point here is that to dehumanize a person with these words, we're in a colonial society, capitalist society, imperialist society, so we just splurting out words, splurting out stuff, and we don't know what we're really saying. And as scholars, we got to hone in our language. As scholars, now everybody else can talk, they talk and do whatever, but as scholars, we got to hone in that language. We got to be clear with what it is we're implying and saying. And I mention this because to dehumanize, like I say, I'm using the example of slavery, but let's come over to the example of non-black people, okay? And this concept of who's to blame for your plight, that thing. Who's to blame for your plight? Now, you know, I stand on the side of reparations for Africans all over the world, okay? You know I stand with freedom and justice and equality. I'm not a slaver and I don't represent slavery. But at the same time, that I can also say, I understand that white American governance robbed my ancestors, prevented us from taking part in the America we built so that white folk can come to this country and take every spoil that America had to offer while my ancestors sat on the side with nothing. That's American history. But to walk up on a white person today and say you're responsible because of this group thing is to dehumanize that person. And this is the point that we have to pay attention to. As hip-hop scholars, of course, there's another history that we can look at, a collective group history that we can all look at. But at the same time, to put that group history over the individual's history is to dehumanize that individual. You're not giving that individual no existence whatsoever. And then on top of that, what we teach at the temple is that even if your family was Klansmen, okay, you are the latest version of that Klan family. You could turn things around today. Today, your family was a Klansman, but you came, joined the temple of hip hop, and started singing the songs of freedom and putting your resources, your mind, and your time into freedom. Therefore, you changed the whole game. We can no longer call you what your ancestors were or whatever. And look at this. You get a badge of honor because your family was actually Klansmen and Klanswomen, but you realized the truth and said, I'm joining the Black Panther Party. Then you like, oh, how much more would we benefit from a transformed Klansman or someone from a family of Klansmen, and I'm just using that as an example, you know, a family that was against another kind of people. What a triumph for the children to live out Dr. Martin Luther King's dream, where the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners meet at the table of brotherhood. How great would that be? So never be ashamed of your past. Never be ashamed of what they tell you about your ancestors. Whatever somebody telling you about your ancestors most likely is a lie, especially if it's a group thing. You know, this is what the whole nation said. This is what the whole nation did. This is what the whole nation... No, it wasn't. Your history and your family history is probably not even thought of. You have to go deep in yourself or ask your grandparents, or hopefully there's some pictures around or something where you can really find out who you truly are. And that's what we teach here at the Temple of Hip Hop. We don't teach guilt here. Nobody's guilty here. Because as GSIMONE points out, what is being guilty? Giving up inspirational living towards yourself. Again, what does it mean to be guilty? Giving up inspirational living towards yourself. Nobody else, but towards yourself. So you come to the Temple of Hip Hop and you are forgiven, relieved of your sins. That's more of a church statement. But let me give you more of a hip hop statement. You could transform here. And so to hold a person to their family's past is to dehumanize the person that's in front of you. That person in front of you got to say, I'm Klan now and I'm Klan forever. Now you got some judgment. Now you can say, okay, you know what? Why don't you sit over there somewhere? You know, but to judge a person, to say, yo, your family benefited on the back of my family. It might be true, but that's not the whole story. And that's not the end of the story. Now, why do I bring all this up? Because this is the key to this lesson right now. This is the key to the lesson where you realize, like, oh, let me give you this last part. So I'm here in Manchester. I drove from Liverpool, okay? So I'm in Liverpool. And like I said, the cab driver gave me a heart-wrenching story, but there's a bunch of them, okay? Here's the point. Here's the point. Don't let the oppressors, or don't let the colonial story also be the story for white folk too. Remember, African American history is all fucked up, okay? White folk wrote it, approved it, although we don't even know what our ancestors were about. That's why I'm pushing black oustery. I got a different way to look at the past so we can see it more accurately. But you want to hear a history worse than African American history? Try white American history. Try European history. They got completely duped, okay? All they got is the king's history, or the duke's history, or the lord's history, or the church's. That's it. That's it. So you're going to judge these people based on the criminals amongst them? This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. You're going to have to look at a person eye to eye and make your determination right there. This group history thing is not even real. So to say that just because a race did you like this, no, it didn't. a couple of criminals in that race did you like that. And you could detect them all the time by their character. Black, white, Native American, Persian, Arab, Russian, who cares? It's your character that wants to get over on another person. That don't have no color. That don't have no age. That don't have no class. That don't have no race. That's a character. There's another character that stands for freedom, stands for justice, ready to give, cut a sandwich in half for another hungry person. Somebody ready to protect the weak and speak up for the voiceless. That's every race, every class, every age, every ethnicity, because they produce this kind of person. The question is, who are you? Which one of these people are you? So as we read, we find, look, let me finish this read, and this is why I'm reading this. Because we're reading about the good parts and the bad parts of imperialism and colonialism. This piece right here that Carol Quigley's talking about is how white people came over and some Indian tribes benefited with the horse and the gun. Other Indian tribes were decimated. Hollywood only takes the Indian tribes that were decimated so you could get to your emotions, spend $12, and you say, okay, old man, I'm watching the Indian man die for his land, and da-da-da-da-da. That's all bullshit. That's dehumanizing both the Native American and the white man or the settler on the land. You don't get the whole story. All you get is white man killing Indian. Now, everybody else can have that story because that's really what went down. On another level, that is what went down. But not scholars, okay? Scholars got to peel back something else and say, wait a minute. These Native Americans were no weaklings either. And remember, we only hearing about the deaths of them because of white folk writing the history. If Indians wrote the history, how many dead white people would we be reading about? Our emotions might go a different way if Native American Cherokees and the Apaches in particular, okay? If they wrote in American history, they might be thrown in jail today. Federal prison right now. The Apaches were no joke. No joke at all. And there were so many warrior nations out here. We get this passive Indian bullshit that they were sitting around waiting for the white man to shoot them. And all they had was bow and arrows. That's straight BS. These Native Americans were just like everybody else. You had Native Americans that owned slaves, and you had Native Americans that detested that. You had Native Americans on the side of the white settler, and you had Native Americans fighting against colonialism. You had Native Americans that fought other Native Americans, and you had Native Americans like, what the fuck are y'all doing? But if you don't put the humanity on these figures of the past, you're simply regurgitating colonial history again. So Carol Quigley is pointing out here in Tragedy and Hope that the Plains Indians, for example, were weak and impoverished before 1543. But in that year, the horse began to diffuse northward from the Spaniards in Mexico. Within a century, the Plains Indians were raised to a much higher standard of living because of their ability to hunt buffalo from horseback, and were immensely strengthened in their ability to resist Americans coming westward across the continent. In the meantime, the Trans-Appalachian Indians, who had been very powerful in the 16th and early 17th centuries, began to receive firearms, steel traps, measles, and eventually whiskey from the French and later the English by way of the St. Lawrence. Funny, the St. Lawrence. These greatly weakened the Woods Indians of the see, there's another group here getting weakened by the same thing somebody else is winning from. Trans-Appalachian area, and ultimately weakened the Plains Indians of the Trans-Mississippi area because measles and whiskey were devastating and demoralizing, and because the use of traps and guns by certain tribes made them dependent on whites for supplies at the time, that they allowed them to put great physical pressure on the more remote tribes which had not received guns or traps. Any united front of Reds against whites was impossible because Reds were competing amongst themselves. and the Indians were disrupted, demoralized, and destroyed, end quote. This group of European exploiters with guns, explosives, measles, and whiskey began terrorizing the inhabitants of the Americas, many of whom were us, the early hip-hop communal attitude. Not people, not just people. It was us, that community of whites, blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, us. The early hip-hop communal attitude, those forward thinkers with that street attitude, that shit existed too. We just are not the ones writing the history back then. However, with superior weaponry, these aliens sought to enslave our people and steal our resources. Centuries of such activity resulted in the further establishment of the British Empire. And because of such activities, our creative intelligence was never really able to fully express itself toward our improved existence. Any expression coming from our experiences or intelligence had to be beneficial to the British Empire, or it was deemed illegal or not worthy of study, unimportant. And I'm not just talking about black people, I'm talking about British people or anybody under the British Empire, white, black, you name it. If you ain't rolling with this, you're a criminal, and this is how it was going down. And by the way, blacks, whites, natives, whoever was here in Britain, if you went along with this, you moved up in society. Get that? If you conform to this certain group. See, you got to realize, don't label all people according to the actions of this group. This imperialist group that's terrorizing everybody. But what they tell later generations is that all of us were with it. That normalizes colonial criminality when they can say everybody was down. And in reality, everybody wasn't down. There was only a few of y'all that was slaving and robbing and raping and murdering and stealing and all. There's only a few of y'all. But because y'all did all that, now you get to write the history. So when you write the history, you claim all white folk were with it. And that's what we get. But you got to peel past that layer and say, all black folk were fighting for freedom, weren't they? No, they weren't. You can look right now at black folk. You think we fighting for freedom? No, there's only a few of us with enlightened minds that are saying, what the fuck is going on? Everybody else dancing, party, and bullshit, and party, and bullshit. That's what everybody else doing. Am I lying? No, you're quite right. So tonight, okay? So this is what we dealing with. For many centuries, our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents could not express their interpretations of the world, of cosmic consciousness, and of self publicly. Think about the witches getting burned in Salem. White, black, men. Somebody deem you a witch because you got a better idea. Somebody deems you a witch because you got a new way to do something. You speak out against the church maybe. Now you a witch. Okay? Now you burning at the stake. Like, this is not just about black. This is about oppression. And everybody gets a taste of it. There, our ideas and ways of doing things were stolen and or suppressed by the commercial interests of European invaders with guns who sought to bring the Earth's people under their rule and order through their weapons and institutions. Spanish, Dutch, Portuguese, and British commercialism, also known as British colonialism, ignored the existence and authority of everything and everyone it came in contact with. And with the use of bombs and guns, whiskey and disease, the British Empire paid the silence over all Earth's cultures under its oppressive rule. And you want to hear something crazy? I'm reading this just in time, and I'm in Britain. Wow. I'm talking about the British Empire right now, and I'm in Britain. I could have been anywhere. I could be in America, really. Because we're reading this randomly. We're reading it according to life. And I just happen to be in Britain reading about this. Long suffering. And also, listen, GSIMONE, you might want to get ready with an ending. I don't know, someone, if you're ready to end, but I need to hear from GSIMONE as well today. Long suffering and oppression resulted for all the Earth's indigenous people while British commercialism matured and developed, creating its own philosophies and views of nature and the universe. Truths, facts, and discoveries made long ago became irrelevant to the new Western mind that believed in the supremacy of British culture over all others. At this point, the whole world would have to wait hundreds of years for Western man with guns and bombs to mature mentally and spiritually to the point of rediscovering what every other culture already knew about nature, the Great Spirit, and the nature of reality itself. It's like the British colonialism commercialism halted the world's progress through terrorism until it was able to catch up, and it still hasn't quite caught up yet. Even other Europeans felt the horrors and stagnation of European commercial conquest. That's where I'm going to stop, because this is what this is where I want to, and I'm actually going to stop at 202. I'm going to stop at 202. Because this is what was the point to my lesson, what I wanted to speak here today after this show right now, and I'm getting this off with you right now, is that don't dehumanize other people because of what you're reading about their group. There is something to say about the group. There is criticism that you can bring up about the group. But as scholars, we have to be clear that we're not making the group the identity of an individual. The individual may or may not understand what the group is about, or understand that they may be benefiting from a group, from the group. They may not understand that they're benefiting from the group. But as a scholar of the Temple of Hip Hop, as a hip hop scholar, you got to know that that person has their own problems, their own thing. Even if you meet a Klansman himself, you got to know from a hip hop perspective that he got problems too. And I bring this because chances are, if you stop criticizing people and deal with their problems, don't look at the fact of the uniform. He got a sheet over his head and a noose in his hand. Okay, don't look at that. If you can get away from it, get away from it. If you got to put this dude on the floor, do whatever you got to do. But after the scuffle or after the escape, if you ever get a chance to talk to dude, you got to appeal to his or her humanity. And this is what we're not doing. We're reading books and then looking at other people like they what the book say. So we looking at white folk, or white folk looking at black folk. Okay? This dude, congratulations to Governor Ron DeSantis. You got half of America hating the man, you got the other half of America loving him. He's running for president. Ron DeSantis out of Florida. So he said, this is a place, Florida is the place where woke goes to die. I love this dude, okay? That was hardcore, okay? This is the place where woke goes to die. Now, of course, he had to pop that game to get his vote, okay? And he got his vote. Now, look at what I just said, okay? I'm not offended by that at all, okay? I'm woke, okay? And look at this, okay? What does it mean to be woke? It means to be awake. It means to be conscious. So you got all these white folk fighting. They go, I ain't woke, I ain't woke. This is a catchphrase like Black Lives Matter, you know. No, white lives matter, all lives matter, blah, blah, blah. Okay, they're just throwing around critical race theory. Everybody running, okay? Woke, everybody running. You know, this kind of thing, these little catchphrases. But if you ever sat Ron DeSantis down, poured the wine, and said, now let's talk seriously. There's no way he could come with some, this is where woke go to die. Nah, that's it. When we start talking seriously, Not the rhetoric, not your rhymes on the mic. You know, I got 3 bitches in the bathroom and they getting it on. Then you go talk to the brother right there and the 3 bitches in the bathroom. And you'll get a whole nother story than what you saw on the mic. And this is how you got to look at these politicians. This is how you got to look at what people say. Don't just get caught up in the Kool-Aid they pouring or the bugle they blowing. That's for everybody else. You got to be a scholar and be able to say, nah, wait a minute. There's a human in there. There's a man in there. There's a woman in there. Now, maybe they got to talk this crazy right here or even do something crazy to maintain whatever they trying to maintain. But if I can appeal to the humanity in you, chances are we can meet in the middle. But I say chances are because looking for your humanity works 2 ways. If I'm willing to give you humanity in my own mind, if you say, no, I'm not a human, I'm an animal. I'm trying to respect you, you disrespecting me. I'm coming with peace, you coming with violence. I'm coming with charity, you coming with theft. I'm coming with love, you coming with hate. Oh, you an animal. There ain't no way around that. As a matter of fact, you less than an animal because animals don't even act like that. So I don't know what you are. Okay, that's what that is right there. And that's when you have to make other moves then. You can't say, oh, your parents were this, and I'm not judging you by your group. I'm judging you as who you are. But then you show me who you are, and you show me that you just like the group. Now I can compare. You act just like the group. Let me show you. Here's the group in the book. Here's the group in the DVD. Here's the group. And you pushing that. Now I got an opinion. But just to look at a person and say, you part of the group I just read about. And the person don't even know what you talking about. Got their own problem. Mother in the hospital. Child with something, they running back and forth from the clinic. They got no time to think about whether you was slavery and this, that, and the other. My child has whatever, an ailment. I think Alzheimer's is an older person's disease, but, or even that. My dad got Alzheimer's. My mother is suffering. My child needs health care. I don't got no time to think about you and what your plight, what you think about white people, black people, red people. I don't got no time for that. I'm out of work and my mortgage is due. My rent's due next week and I just got fired. Little things like that. We call some of that racism sometimes. Black man acting stupid. White man acting stupid. People acting crazy. You say, oh, it's racist. But it's not racist. Sometimes it be fear. Sometimes it just be a nasty attitude. They said 90% of Americans got a mental disorder. Did you hear that? I'm baffled about that. 90% of Americans got a mental disorder. Over half of the United States is depressed. Think about that. 1 out of every other person you see on the streets is depressed in some shape or form. So now you walking down the street with your box in your hand and you ain't cruising plan. You having a good time. The person next to you is straight fucking depressed, popping pills every hour, okay? And now you want them to act right to you? You walking down the street, you don't know nobody, but 2 people was trying to have a baby, and the mother just lost the child. After 10 years waiting, she finally got pregnant and lost the child. This ain't got nothing to do with racism. I just don't want to see your fucking ass right now. I don't want to talk. You look at it because it's a white man makes you black. It's a white man with an attitude. You say you just doing it because I'm black. He racist. No, sometimes people have real problems. and don't know how to express themselves other than with a nasty attitude or something stupid come out their mouth because they're just at the end of their rope. And this is what temple scholars got to realize. That's the lesson that I'm pushing today. That's the lesson that I'm putting out today. Don't lump a bunch of people into what you read. Go person by person by person. Learn each individual person for who they are. Learn their character. Because a lot of the stuff that we call in racism is just somebody having a bad day. And we think it's all this, but it's really something as small as I need $10 and I don't know how to say it. My baby is home and can't get there, and I just walked outside because I just hope something happened to me and somebody bumped into me. And I'm like, man, get off me, man. And you like, what's wrong with you? You don't know what's wrong with that person. Just broke up with the girlfriend. You don't know. I tell you this craziness real quick before I go. GSIMONE, are you ready? Real
Yes.
quick. Yeah. We're talking about not judging people based on what you read about their group, whether good or bad. Son one, you ready?
Yes,
Because I'm gonna cut it off here because these lessons are short. But this is what we are impressing upon you today with this read. And this read is talking about, well, it really sums it up right here. Hold on, let me find the sum up. Hold up, there was a sum up. Hold on. There was one line here that really had me going. Hold on. All right, I gotta find it. But it's the part where I talk about how even the people of the British Empire suffered from this group. And this is what, here it is. It's actually 201. It's actually paragraph 201. I'm gonna end off on this. It's like British colonialism, commercialism halted the world's progress through terrorism until it was able to catch up. And it still hasn't quite caught up yet. Here's the line. Even other Europeans felt the horrors and stagnation of European commercial conquest. So just because you got European commercial conquest and they stole everything and it seems like they're only looking out for their people, no, they not. That's an illusion too. Because you ask anybody on the ground here in Britain, they'll tell you, fuck these people straight up. Britain ain't having it with their government. They had 3 prime ministers in 1 year. So you know they bugging over here, okay? And we're on the ground talking to people. And they're telling you, man, fuck this. This shit is bullshit. We don't like this. Nobody's satisfied with their government. So how can you take the history of the government as the history of the people who are against that? This is real time we talking right here. So listen, I'm KRS-ONE. I want to hear from GSIMONE. After that, we're going to hear from Son One. We're here now in Manchester, England. Just finished off the show. I'm still sweating, but I had to get this lesson off right here, right now. I thank you for listening to us. I'll catch up with you next week, but this is it. This is what it is. You know, I guess the saying is, don't judge a book by its cover.
Peace, everybody. This is GSIMONE, Minister GSIMONE, the Acronologist. And, you know, that word from the teacher was amazing. And we should take that in and, you know, just feel the spirit of that, because that was full of truth, full of fact, and full of love for you to learn and understand. I'm going to just take a minute and share with you. The teacher spoke about speaking to Taraji today. in reference to stop the violence. And when I spoke with her prior to setting up the call for the teacher with her, she told me, she said, you know, I am an empath. And as soon as she said that, it hit me because I am an empath. And I feel when people come around, I feel their energy. And as the teacher spoke about, you know, us not knowing and judging other people. And I have an acronym for judgment. So I want to give you that one and write this down. It's joyfully understand, don't give more energy, not trusting. So judgment, joyfully understand, don't give more energy, not trusting. And that not trusting is not trusting God, not trusting the universe, and not trusting yourself. So again, joyfully understand people. Try to put yourself in their shoes. Try to understand what they may be going through. It's something you're not going through, but a smile, being kind to them could just help them go on the other side of the wall so they don't have to be where they are. So again, joyfully understand, don't give more energy, not trusting. I want to share another acronym with you that I hope will touch your heart, because when it came to me, it really touched mine. And it's empathy. And the acronym for empathy is emotion makes a person align their heart to yours. Now, there are two extra words there, the A and the two. But again, empathy. Emotion makes a person align their heart to yours. And that's what an empath is, because I align my heart to people. People align their heart to me. That alignment and that emotion makes us have that empathy, and that is what we should have for each other, and be kind to one another and loving to one another as much as we can to help people heal, because there is 90% of the people in America mentally challenged, basically, by life's circumstances, by life situations, by family trauma, by current trauma, and it's happening everywhere. So we should just be sensitive to people, and we should understand that, you know, we're all going through something in life. Some things we're going through the same. There's not even any different. But try to understand people. We are here, and we are here every Sunday to give you a word, to give you inspiration, to lift you up, that you lift us up, and we preserve each other. We preserve our lives, we preserve the culture, and we preserve our families. So again, judgment. Joyfully understand, don't give more energy, not trusting yourself, God, or the universe. And that empathy acronym is emotion makes a person align their heart to yours. Align your heart to someone. Love them. Help them heal. Help them grow. Help them get better. This is a week in America. It is Thanksgiving. We say it's Thanks-taking because what was really given, a lot was taken. But enjoy your family. Enjoy the week. Eat, be merry, show love, show kindness, and be strong. I am G. Simone. Sung One is up next. Peace.
Yeah, Lord.
Peace and much love, everybody. We are here live in Manchester. Just finished a dope show, the second of shows. Of course, the teacher tore it down as always. And it's dope because we're expanding the show in certain ways, testing out certain things, and seeing what works, and getting used to adding a different flow. But it's still that hardcore. And standing by the stage right before we came in, dude said we absolutely smashed it. So that's what that is. I want to bring up something. I was actually doing we were doing a different show. I want to say it might have been in Sheffield, or maybe the show before that. But either way, as soon as we were walking in, a gentleman who was the security guy stopped us and was checking our credentials, making sure that we were who we said we were. But then he asked where we were from. And of course I said America and Connecticut. And he said, man, I'll never go there. And I asked him, I was like, well, why? And he said, well, because my wife is black, and this is a white man. So my wife is black, and my daughter is black. And he said, we just won't be safe. And I was like, no. I was like, it's not. I was like, I understand what you're saying, why you might think that. I said, but it's not like that. Or people are more to themselves when they're really like that. Or you can't just get away with being in public like that. Or when you do, you normally get quickly checked by a bunch of people. And it's normally because they have something wrong with their mind. Of which they just are out of control in some way, shape, or fashion. But I was 10 to 1 that's coming from trauma and a certain way that they took things growing up and not being able to comprehend really the much larger picture. To look, and so it was sad because he wouldn't believe me. He was just like, no, from the things that he sees on the news, this is absolutely not the place he's ever visiting ever on Earth, an entire continent, because he thinks the second he comes, a bunch of white people are going to attack his wife and his daughter. Crazy. But
Or is he?
I think he's crazy. He can come around my town. I'll take him around. He'll be all right. So we have to remember, like, walking out here, these people, I haven't, of course people stare because really we don't look like anybody out here. I've yet to see somebody who really or just looks like us. I see hip hoppers that look like hip hop, but that's the international hip hop look. Or you can tell when somebody is hip hop, but looking like us, I don't see nobody with their dreads just chilling like that so far in the areas that we're at. But I'm being greeted by a bunch of white people, pat me on the shoulder, talking shit, making jokes, and they're just living their life. Now, we all gotta understand, obviously, that there are specific people who have been running things, and they're making the choices that has benefited certain quote-unquote races as a whole, or made that perception that you have more opportunity, which actually does give you more opportunity because everybody is sharing that perception. But at the same time, they are also normally the source of their problems as well, which is the wild shit. So really what's happening is ignorance is being taken advantage of. Really ignorance. Because if, just to take the United States political arena right now, we got this dude in Georgia that sounds completely, insanely unintelligent and getting it off. Donald Trump, insanely unintelligent, getting it off. This is an age of dumbness ruling the people. Like that. Teacher said he had met some guy that said he was embarrassed about his parliament and the fact that they can't, or having issues getting things together. But it's like, no, we have dumb rulers, and it seems as though the majority of the people is either that they're not intelligent enough to elect the right people, intelligent people, or no, that 90% of having a mental disorder is right on point and right on key. And that's kind of fucked up. Because then what do? When the people are just like, fuck it. And there's no demand that, no, there's no way that you should be able to get away with the stuff that's going on. Like it's like we're in the Twilight Zone and living it out, and then there's nothing anybody can do about it. I don't believe that to be true. But obviously, you cannot blame the regular person. You gotta know who's responsible, or that's the first step. Knowing who's actually responsible for the shit. Now, if you're looking at, okay, somebody needs to, and I believe this, no. Black people have been put at a disadvantage economically, education-wise, from the time of enslavement. Why in the world, when we all know, and Teacher actually just spoke about this in a lecture the other day at BIM, that the money is really, or the only thing you really can do, or no, not the only thing, but one of the main things that you can do is financially put everybody on the same level. Give everybody the same opportunity that they would have had from generational wealth. That, no, there's a reason why society is the way it is and why the economics of households are so off balance. There's a reason for that. So fix that. And then fix the lies. And the government, what's the point in teaching lies? It doesn't make sense. We all know it doesn't make sense. And so if you could just start there, it doesn't. What is it hurting these people? And it's almost like you could say that they have a mental disorder. If it's not going to hurt you to print more money to give to people, it's not going to hurt you to let real scholars actually investigate the knowledge that is being disseminated throughout the entire country and fix it. If it's not going to hurt you to do that, why aren't you doing it? That's not going to take money out of your pocket. It's not going to take money out of anybody's pocket. Just put more money in people's pockets. Inflation is a joke. It's not real. And really, I'll just keep going because the teacher got me fired up.
Actually, the car is here.
No doubt.
The car is here.
Right. So yeah, let's keep this short. Peace and much love to you all. You know what it is. The Temple of Hip Hop is a hip hop preservation ministry, archive, school, and society. We believe that the best way to preserve hip hop is to actually preserve the actual hip hopper as opposed to actual material objects. Peace and much love. I am Minister Son One. Peace.